Hey kiddos, I hope that you found the other videos helpful, and I'm going to do one more on this one on explain everything so that you can kind of see some different kinds of questions. These are going to be on coordinate plane, and on the ones with the rules, you'll see those in just a minute with the patterns of numbers that also have to be plotted on a coordinate plane. So we're kind of going to review a little bit about that first, and then we'll get into these questions. So we know that with coordinate plane, we know, I'm going to just kind of sketch over here. We know we have two perpendicular lines, and you know me and my drawing are not the best, but perpendicular means that they're going to intersect. We know that the horizontal axis is the X and the vertical axis is the Y. We also know that this point right here, 0, 0, is also called the origin. Now, remember in 5th grade, we only deal with the first quadrant, so these are going to be all positive numbers. You know, next year you'll probably see, or not probably, you will see negative numbers come into play, but you don't have to worry about that this year. Remember, we always, when we have an order pair, it's in order of X and then Y, which means that you're always going to go right and then up when you're plotting these points. We've talked about this in class a lot. So if they give you the point, let's say 2, 3, then that means you're going to go right 2 and up 3. And remember that you're always starting from that origin, okay? That origin right here. So if I was going to do 2, 3, I would just say 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And obviously it'd be a little easier if there were lines on it, but I just wanted to review with you what this was going to apply with. So if you have any questions on that, we will talk about this on Monday. So you can think about it over the weekend, see how you do on the Mastery Connect assignment, and then we will discuss any questions you have on Monday. Or you can send me a message always on email, on Remind, school status, any of those things. All right, so let's look at our first question. All right, on this one, we say they give you a coordinate plane, and they wanted to know, it's a drop-down menu, but I just have a picture of it, so it's not going to drop down. But if I was going to plot 3 of these points, I'm going to actually list all of them, so you would have to look down in the drop-down menu and see, you'd know what's already plotted, and you would see which 3 are they asking for. So we're going to write the order pairs for each of these points here. So if I'm looking at this one right here, remember you always go from the origin, you go right for the X value and up for the Y value. So this one's going to be 1, 5. So we're going to write that 1, 5. All right. Here, I'm actually going to color it. So this one right here is 1, 5. All right, now we have, let's say this one right here. Well, if we were going from the origin, that would be right 3, up 1, which means the point is 3, 1. All right, next one, let's do this one. From the origin, I would go right 5, up 3, which means that point is 5, 3. All right, and then the one right above it. Now, look, this one's on the same X value, so it's going to have 5 as its first number again, because you're going to be going right 5, but then up 8 this time. So this one is 5, 8. All right, yellow one, this one right here. This one is going to be, you're going to start at 0, 0, go right 8, up 6. So your point is 8, 6. All right, I'm going to do one more pink one because I don't want to change colors just yet. So we're going to do this one right here. So we know that it is right 9, up 2. So it is 9, 2. So now that you can see that all these points are those points that are on the graph, you would just have to drop these down if you were doing this problem on the computer and pick which one of these. If it said an answer, like if it said 5, 3, that was one of the answers or choices, that would be one of your answers. But if it said, like, for instance, if it said 3, 5, we've talked about how this order matters, right? So if it's not in the same order, just because it's the same numbers, but remember, this is your X value, this is your Y value. So if it was switched like this, you would say, nope, that is not my answer. It has to be in the order that I have, okay? All right, this next question is just giving you a coordinate plane over here. I kind of had to do several pictures of this one because it was so big as far as the layout of it. So they give you a coordinate plane with individual shapes, pictures that are plotted on this coordinate plane. And they want you to say, okay, well, if we look for this rectangular prism, what would it be the ordered pair that matches with that? So we're going to do the same thing we just did a minute ago. We're going to say, okay, well, if I were to go to the rectangular prism, I have to go from the origin, right 1 up 2. So that tells me that my point, or my ordered pair, excuse me, for this is 1, 2, because it has a x coordinate of 1 and a y coordinate of 2. All right, so we've used that one. All right, the next one is the triangle. So again, we would go right 2, up 6. So your answer for this one is 2, 6. So we're going to mark that one out. Next one is the circle. So we're going to look at the circle. We've got to go right 4, up 4. So that one actually has 4, 4. Okay, next one is the star. So we're going to start from 0, 0, right 6, up 2. So 6, 2 is your answer on that one. And last one is the rectangle. So again, starting from the origin, right 6, up 7. So that one is 6, 7. And I didn't mark that one out. So when we mark this one out, we see that we've used them all and we have our correct answers. All right, this is a fairly easy one because really all it's asking you is they gave you point M. So it's kind of like the one we just did with the shapes, except now they're just calling it M. And they just want to know that specific point. What are the ordered pairs or the coordinate pair that matches that? So you need to find, remember, this is your X, this is your Y, and X always comes first. So we always go right and then up, okay? So we're going to just see for this one, if I know I have to go here, I've got to go right 8, up 16. So that means our answer is 8, 16 because we went right 8 and up 16. All right, this is kind of like the first one that we did. It's actually very similar. But now they're going to, it was dropped down before. Now this one is one of those select all that apply kind of things, except this time, remember, we've looked at it and we say we got to pay attention to what they're telling us. So if it says select 2 that apply, we've got to make sure that we pick the 2 that works. So on this one, we can kind of approach it a little differently. We can look at our answer choices and try them out, see if there's a point there. So for instance, on this one, I would go right 1, up 2. Well, there's nothing there, so we know that that is not my answer. All right, the next one, right 2, up 6. So if I go right 2, up 6, again, there's nothing there, so I know that is not my answer. All right, next one, 3, 5. I go right 3, up 5. Oh, we got one. So that one is one of our answers, so we're going to put a mark in that box. All right, next one, 4, 8, right 4, up 8, not there. So we're going to mark it out and say not our answer. All right, remember, we're looking for 2 of them, right? So we already have one. We've got to find the next one. Excuse me. So 6, 2, right 6, up 2. It is there. That is our answer. And if you double check that last one, right 9, there's nothing even on 9 for X. So we knew it couldn't be our answer anyways. So we found our 2 answers that applied to that. All right, I purposely picked this answer or this question for our video because we had so many that this threw off for some reason. I had a lot that asked me this question. So when they say which point is inside JKL, they mean like you're going to plot a point and you see it's going to fall somewhere inside, you know, I'm having a hard time tracing, but it's going to fall somewhere inside of there. So when I go to do this, I'm going to look at my choices. I'm going to check each one. So this one says 5, 4. So that means right 5, up 4. Now, it would be right here. So it's not inside the triangle. When we say inside, we literally mean inside here, okay? So if it doesn't fall inside there, it's not your answer. All right, so let's try another one. Okay, so 4, 5. 4, 5 would tell me that I have to go right 4, up 5. So if you see that, you are right in the middle of that triangle. So that's exactly what that question means. It means like it's got to fall in there. So 4, 5 is your answer. Let me show you why the others are not our answer, though. Whenever we try to go with 7, 6, if I went up or right 7, up 6, I would be right here on top. So that wouldn't work. If I did 6, 7, I'd go right 6, up 7, so I'm up here. So again, not inside the triangle. That's all it means, is that it has to fall inside that shape. I chose this question also because we had a lot of questions about it. So this one you've seen before. It says, read the 5 statements about the coordinate system, which statements are true. You know, they like a lot of questions that ask about that, which ones are true. We also see that we have to pick 2 of them. So we have to look through each one of these and figure out which ones are telling the truth. So if I look at the first one, it says the x-axis and the y-axis do not intersect. Well, we know that's not true because our x and y axis intersect at 0, 0, which is your origin. Which, if you look at the second statement, it says the x and y axis, they intersect at 0, 0, which is exactly what I just said. So that's one of your answers. The next one says the x-axis and the y-axis are not used to locate points in the coordinate plane. Well, that's the whole point. We use our x and y axes to tell us where to plot those points, to tell us how many to go right, how many to go up. So we know that's not true. The next one says the x and the y-axis are parallel number lines. We've talked about this, but you know parallel means they're never going to touch, and clearly they do because they intersect at that origin. We also talked about how perpendicular means they intersect to form a right angle, and we know that there is a right angle right here in that corner right there. So that one is your other answer. I think that one was the one you had kind of a tough choice in. But when you say you know this can't be your answer and you know that one can't be, it's got to be one of these two, and you know what parallel lines mean. So keep that in mind, and you know what perpendicular means. So think about that. All right, on this question, I just wanted to show you, this is a technology enhanced one. Not real hard, but I just want to make sure you practice with how you would plot these points if you were given this type of question. You would just click the point. If I could do this, these are just pictures, but if I did this, I'd click the box that says point, and I would plot these out. So for math, I'm going to make it purple, and it is 1, 7, and I can label it with M. All right, then English, I'm going to do 5, 4. So that means right 5, up 4. So we're here. I'm going to put an E to mark it. Science, 6, 8. So that means right 6, up 8, which means here. And that is, I'm just going to put an S. And the last one for these is history. And we're going to go right 9, up 6. And we're going to plot it here and mark it with an H. So just a little practice just plotting those points. Instead of asking questions about one, we have to actually plot those points. All right, this one was a drag and drop kind of thing, and it was really just asking you how to plot this point, this given point that they have. So 2, 6. So if you were going to plot this point, what would you have to do? And we know your first number tells you to go right, your second number tells you to go up. So it says start at the origin and move 2 units right. So this is the 2 that you would use for this. And then you would move 6 units up. So you would use those. You wouldn't even need these 2 right here. I told you because if we're only plotting in the first quadrant, if we're plotting points, we're never going to go down or left. You always go right and then up. All right, this one is starting our rules that we've talked about. This is when we're going to have rule, it might say rule 1, rule 2, and then it specifies that rule 1 is used for X and rule 2 is used for Y. We make ourselves an XY table first before we try to figure out which order pairs could be used. And we're going to look at our rules. So I'm going to use different colors for the rules. We're going to, for the rule 1, remember these are your X values. It's going to give us a starting amount and tell us what to do to it. So the X value, rule 1, tells you start with 2 and add 1. So we're going to say 2 plus 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. And if you look at your answer choices, that's plenty high enough. All right, then I'm going to rule 2. And it says to start with 3, but multiply it by 4. So this time we're going to say 3, starting with 3, multiplied by 4 is 12, multiplied by 4 is 48. Multiplied by 4 is getting really big, so I'm going to go over here and just make sure I get the right answer. 32, that's going to give me 16. Yeah, that's what I thought it was. Just want to make sure. All right, so we know clearly by these order of pairs, we don't need that 192 because it's not even an option. So let's check and see what we have. So for answer, our choice A, or choice number 1, says 2, 3. That's correct. 312, that's correct. And 448 is also correct. So that is actually your answer. If you look at the next answer, we can tell these all 3 have 2. If we're changing this and we're adding to it, there's no way that your x value can still be 2. With the third answer, we wouldn't even start with 1. 312 would work, but 536 would not work. So remember, all of them have to. 1, 4 is out. All right, 2, 8 doesn't work, and 4, 12 doesn't work on the last one. So the only answer you have is the first choice. All right, this one is like what we just did, except obviously they kind of give it to you in a different format. Instead of it being order pairs just written out, they give it to you in a graph. So we're still going to make our XY table. So I'm going to do it right here in the middle. And we're going to look at pattern X and see what it tells me to start with. So this one tells me start with 4 and add 1 each time. So 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. Then on Y, it tells me start with 1 and add 5 each time. So 1 plus 5 is 6, plus 5 is 11, plus 5 is 16. All right, so now we have some ordered pairs that we need to check and say, okay, which one could be my graph? So first we're going to look and see, can we look at 4, 1, all right? So if we look at our graph, all right, we can kind of eliminate some other answers because some of this has been, the x-axis is kind of cut off on that first picture, but we can kind of eliminate some things just based on the rest of them. So let's try to use that because we know we like to use these elimination skills. So if I look at 4, 1, 4, 1 means right 4 up 1. There's nothing there. Right 5 up 6. So I know that this one right here cannot be my answer because nothing's matching. All right, if I look at this one, 4, 1, there's nothing there. 5 would be like here, 6. All right, you can check other ones, 6, 11. So you can clearly see this one's not working. All right, so it is not your answer. All right, and if you looked at this one, to be honest, this one is not your answer as well. So I'm going to add something to this first one so we can kind of see what it is. All right, so on this one, even though it's cut off, I'm just going to fix it. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's what it said before we did it. So we can check these and see, well, does this match up to the first one? So you would go right 4, up 1. Now, if you notice this, the y-axis is jumping by 2. So that 1 would be between this 0 and this 2. So 4, 1, then 5, 6, excuse me, 6, 11, which is between 10 and 12. So that's right. And then 7, 16. So that one is your final answer. None of the other ones match. It's got to be that one right there. All right, this next one deals with patterns. So you're just having to look through these, the X table, or X column of the table and the Y column of the table and see what's happening here. So if we look at these numbers right here, 10, 15, 20, 25, we can see that each time they are adding 5, okay? So that means that if I continue this on, this is going to be 30 and this is going to be 35. When we look at Y, it's going 20, 35, 50, 65, which is showing me that they're adding 15 each time. So when I add 15 to 65, I get 80 and then I get 95 here. So what the question is asking, which ordered pair represents the number of push-ups, X, and sit-ups, Y, in week 6? So this is the one we're looking at. So that just means you're going to say push-ups is your X, which is 35, and sit-ups is your Y, which is 95. So that means this one right here is our answer. All right, last one for this video. They just want to know what the missing value is. So this one's pretty simple a little bit. Because you're just looking at the pattern of what's happening in this function table, or specifically this Y column. So if we're going from 9 to 12, 12 to 16, 16 to 21, we've got to be looking at, well, this one's not doing something consistently to it every time. Excuse me, you're not just adding 2, you're not adding 3, you're every single time. We're adding something different. So if I look from here to here, we're adding 3. If I look from here to here, I added 4. If I look from 16 to 21, I'm adding 5. So you can see a pattern developing where you're adding 3, then 4, then 5. So this time you're going to add 6. So if we do 21 plus 6, that's going to give us 27. So 27 is your answer for this one. All right, I hope this video has been helpful for you. I hope you watch the other videos and then go take the Mastery Connect assignment for me, please. It does have a few more questions, but a lot of them are kind of short questions that won't take you too long. So please do your very best on it. Again, tomorrow on Friday, when we meet at 12 to 1 on live on the Google Meet, then we will discuss anything with volume have questions about first. And if you happen to have started this assignment, then we can also talk about that if you need to, or we will not be discussing it for sure. We don't have to until Monday, because this one is technically Friday's assignment. All right, thanks so much for watching. I miss you still, even though I'm getting to see some of you online. I still miss you terribly. I hope everybody's doing well, and I will see you tomorrow.